Hey team, this is Mrs. Hill. So glad you can join us today to talk about our research-based argumentative writing final. Now that we have looked at argumentative writing, both in student essays and in important USNL documents, now we're going to try our own hand at it as far as writing really effective argumentation. So I'm going to go over just some of the requirements for the final. If you go into your Google playlist, you guys will see one of your first options here is to go ahead and view the requirements for the essay assignment. So go ahead and find the Google playlist, and on activity 9, we're going to view the assignment sheet. So if you click on that, it'll link you up to the actual assignment and the rubric and the topic list for you guys. So notice that the assignment here is that everyone is going to write an argumentative essay. Everybody's format is going to be different after you write the essay as far as how to present it, but everybody will write an argumentative essay. Your essay is going to be about a school-wide, a local, statewide, national, or worldwide issue that you're really unfamiliar with, that you're kind of uneducated on the topic, and you're looking to find out what stance you would like to take on that specific topic. So you as a speaker are going to take the stance of presenting all sides of the argument through the research. Your purpose when you're writing the argumentative essay is to educate your reader about the different perspectives that are related to the issue, and then for you at the end of your essay to really draw the conclusion on whether or not or which side of the argument you would take a stance on. Your audience is going to vary depending on your format. So you may choose to have your classmates be your audience. You may choose to have the teacher be your audience. You could write an editorial, which we'll talk about, and have the Greeley Tribune or Teen Ink be your audience, or miscellaneous public officials that you will identify. This is really a key idea here, is that whatever format you choose to do after you write your argumentative essay, you're going to choose a format to present it. So you can either choose to do a multimedia presentation to your peers. You could write an editorial for the local newspaper. You may do a debate in class with a partner. And lastly, you may do a formal business letter that you would send to one of those miscellaneous public officials. So everybody's going to have a different format that they do at the end. Your argumentative final will be worth around 100 points. It might be a little different from teacher to teacher, but it's a big assignment. The key ideas that we're going to be looking for is that you can write a hit test tie with a works cited. So again, the introduction, bodies, and conclusion of your essay. We're going to be looking for formal, objective, or factual language used in presenting your ideas. And then lastly, you're going to have a list of claims that present both sides of the argument and are supported with research. We've outlined just some dates that will keep us on track of how we're going to choose our topic, do some research, write a rough draft, etc. These are all tentative. There are some important notes here to think about as far as when you choose the format that you do. We will present our multimedia presentations to the class. If you decide to write a letter to a public official, you will need to have an unsealed, addressed, and stamped envelope with your letter in it on the day of the final. If you choose to write an editorial, that's going to be a tricky one. You're going to email me your 300-word editorial at the end that I will email to the Greeley Tribune. And then lastly, if you decide to do a debate on the 19th with a partner, you all will be assigned which side of the argument to argue on that day. Winner receives extra credit. So if you have any questions about that, let your teacher know. The next page on the document outlines the rubric on how we're going to grade you. Notice that we're looking for comprehension, credible evidence, properly analyzing the credible evidence, using those effective argumentation techniques that we've talked about in class. And then when we get there, we're going to talk about logical fallacies and how to avoid those. As far as your organization is concerned, again, we're going to be doing a hit test tie. We know that effective argumentation has a clear focused thesis and hooks your reader at the beginning and has well-constructed ideas. So we'll have you guys follow the hit test tie format. Lastly, we will look at grammar, spelling, Those two things are really important for a formal tone. If you have punctuation and spelling errors, it's really going to affect your tone and effectiveness of argumentation. Nobody wants to listen to somebody who can't spell or put periods at the end of their sentences. So we'll really work on refining our tone and our style as far as our argumentative final. Works cited will also be required for this final. You will have to cite your sources within your paper, provide a works cited, and then have correct MLA citation or format on your paper. So Times New Roman, 12-point font, double-spaced, those sorts of things. All right, for the fun stuff. Here on the last 2 pages, you get to start deciding on a topic. What is really important here is that you need to choose one thing out of each column. It doesn't matter as far as going across. You can choose one role and one audience, and they don't need to be next to each other. So when you choose a role, you decide from what perspective are you going to tell this argument from. Are you going to be a student of District 7? Are you going to be a concerned community member? Just a teenager in general, not necessarily a student? Or are you going to be a U.S. citizen? Once you've chose a role, then you choose an appropriate audience. With that, if you were a student of District 7, it would be appropriate then to have the audience be somebody who's related to the school. If you're a concerned community member, you could write a letter to the school board as far as just being that. But as a student, you might just be discussing that with the school board, etc. As a teenager, you might just choose a teenager and then, write to the Colorado State Legislative or the House of Representatives. So you have to choose whatever role and then what role or perspective you're writing from, and then who's going to be the appropriate audience. The next one is the format. So you have about 4 formats to choose from. Either a formal business letter, an editorial, which will only be 300 words long, the debate, or the multimedia presentation. Again, everyone will write an argumentative essay, and then you will transform it into your final presentation and what those 4 formats might look like. And then we're going to look at your topic. Now, what I like to think of in this is kind of the ripple effect. Here in the middle is you. You are like the center of this ripple effect. And you are then in the classroom. And the classroom is that one area that might have an issue within it. And then the next ripple outside of it is going to be your school. The next ripple outside of that is your Kersey community or Colorado. And then if you continue rippling out, outside of Colorado is the nation, and outside of the nation is the world. So you kind of have to think about where your issue lies as far as that ripple effect. So are you going to look at a specific school issue? Your school issue could be anywhere from dress code, electronic devices. Maybe you want to honor a teacher through 9 News. What about the down list is what we're doing effective to get students off the down list. How do we feel about open campus? Perhaps our new tardy policy that's been put into place. So these are things that affect us directly here in the school, perhaps in your classroom. The next one is local or statewide. A lot of cities don't allow pit bulls within their city limits. Lots of people have problems with prairie dogs as far as agriculturally being a pest. Others are like trying to save the prairie dogs. What do you feel about organ donation, fracking, Proposition 106 with the assisted suicide, distracting driving laws that they've recently put into place? On the nationwide level then, going another step out, nationwide issues right now: violence in the media, recycling, capital punishment, homelessness, poverty, the state standards and standardized testing that's been put in place by the federal government, the argument on vaccinating your children, women in the military. Should we tax people when they're buying sodas or tobacco? And then lastly, on the worldwide issue, What are things affecting the entire world? So that would be global warming, war, stem cell research, drug use in sports, use of drones. Right now, U.S.'s involvement in Syria or lack thereof. Specific human rights. There is a human Bill of Rights through the United Nations. What does that look like? Are there certain things that should be on it that are not on there? And then lastly, should we be taking in Syrian refugees and helping Europe out with their crisis? One of the most important things we have to keep in mind, do not choose something that you already know what your stance is on it. It's very, very important that you choose a topic you know next to nothing about, but that you're curious to find out. What are the facts and statistics and evidence about global warming? Who argues for it? Who argues against it? And then do the research on global warming and then find out, based on the evidence and research that you've done, what is your stance about global warming? It's really important that you don't choose something that you're already passionate about. Because what our objective is to educate your reader about your issue, do the research on it, and then come to a conclusion about what you feel about the topic. So, what you need to do now is look over the assignment, really take it in, ask questions of your teachers, and let us know how we can help really narrow down. Keep in mind that there is an other, so if there's something that you're curious about, please make a proposition to your teacher. On the argumentative playlist, once you have kind of looked at the final assignment, you've started to contemplate a topic, it's important for you then to fill out the topic go-ahead form. So if you go then to the next, looks like our numbers are wrong, that's okay, but the next part is to choose your topic. So you can look at the New York Times argumentative writing prompts here and go through some of those. There's some great ideas. Find something you're curious about. And then you're going to go ahead and do the topic go-ahead form. So when you click on that, it'll take you to a form where you can go ahead and tell us what your proposed topic is, and then submit that to us to let us know what you're thinking. We will then give you a go-ahead on your topic. It has to be researchable, and it's not something that you're passionate about. Please make sure it's something that you're curious, that you want to take a stance on, that you haven't already. That's really important for this. If you have questions, let us know. Good luck!